your time volunteering and helping with all of the programs that we have here at GP. It is such a great school to be a part of, and it wouldn't be the same without all of you and the work that you do. I'm so grateful that you are here tonight because this is a very special night. Greg Barker is here with us. He is our expert on fundraising and all things ASB law with AWSP. He has been here all day with us, helping this earlier this afternoon with our teachers, administrators, our office staff. After that, we had another meeting with our coaches and advisors, and then finishing up today with all of our community members. So we are so appreciative that you came today, and thank you for that. Like he said, there is a sign-in sheet. I would love to know all the different groups that are here. There's water and snacks at the back table. Feel free to help yourselves. And then there are restrooms down on the hall. Feel free to take care of needs as you need anything. If there's anything you do need, let me know. I'm happy to help. I will be here all evening. And also there is on the back table the pink form for our fundraisers. And we'll be kind of getting to that later to kind of explain that. So if you're not sure what the pink form is,
you will.
Okay, so with that, thank you, and
Thanks.
Thank you for being here.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here because I know you all had jobs and then, other duties as assigned, and some of you might have kids out there on the fields. Just to help me out, how many of you represent fall sports and winter sports and the spring sports and graduation party? Great. And do you have an overarching booster club? I can't remember your structure.
With the PTO group.
Okay, so PTO, okay. Who am I missing? Band. Great. Choir. Okay, double duty. Okay. Drama. Okay. Okay. They have all the answers. They learn it 3 times. Who'd I miss? Any FFA alumni? Okay. Okay. So I'm Greg Barker. Just before you throw pitchforks or knives, my kids graduated from here. 2 of them did. I realized that it's like 16 years old. I was on the naming committee for Glacier Peak. So I was in that group. So I have a long history here. It was supposed to be my role to take over because my initials are GP Barker. I was supposed to, but they didn't hire me. So I left. So I left the building after I left Snohomish. I went down there. I was at Valley View. I went to Snohomish when Glacier Peak opened. I was there for 10 years. I left there and I took over the duties I took over some duties and then COVID happened. So now I took over other duties. So I lived in the school realm and 26 years and I talked about booster clubs. Now I'm a 501c3 and I can talk about schools. So I feel like I am bilingual in the way that I can speak public money and private money. And in that time that I've been working here with the foundation, and we do a lot of things, we're basically, there's the Principals Association, which is membership, and that's the leaders. We are the ones who work with students and the staff who work with students and the leaders who work with students. So we're bookends. We come from the school side. We do outdoor school. We do student leadership. We have CISPAS Learning Center where we do leadership development as well as outdoor school. We've been running camps, summer programs since '56. Cheer camp since '63. So I spent 2 weeks at Central in 104-degree weather at cheer camp. It was energetic. Nobody passed out. Well, a few people passed out. But so I'm coming with being a teacher, an advisor, athletics. I was cheer advisor twice, administrator. So this is all of that I'm coming with. I also taught with the auditors for 20 years. More than 20 years, but I started in 2000. So I feel like I can channel an auditor well, gambling commissioner, maybe, Department of Revenue, not so much. So as I'm speaking to you today, I'm talking about what's okay at the state level, but I feel like I can channel Snohomish still pretty well after 12 years of being here. Actually, I was involved in the Pinky form too, so I know that form well, working with Ruth Floyd previously. So as we're going through, we love what boosters do, but there's some definite things in working with the auditors still, because I still meet with the auditors, and there are things that they find, that's their job, to find things and point them out to us. And it is a lot of we have public funds and we have booster club funds, and we just keeping those separate. So I'm going to give you some terms and some things that schools know so you understand where they're coming from, and then we can talk about all the great work you're doing and what we can do together to maximize everything that we're doing. So with that, so I know it's a lot of set and get tonight, but I know that there's just so much to do. So again, the foundation, maybe I should be on my slideshow. Okay, so there's a lot of things, just so you know the difference. And when we say ASB, we say ASB because that's really where the fundraising occurs. We don't do general fund fundraising. That comes from the state and the feds, you know. So we do most of our money in through the ASB. And so that's where we distinguish, and most of you are supporting extracurricular activities. The PTAs might be supporting the library curricular. They might be supporting everything, but the high school, you're predominantly doing the, and I moved sites over here because they're there. I didn't want to block them. I'm being recorded. So how do we differ? What's the compliance that you need? Because you all volunteered to do this, but did you go through your boot camp to do this? Did you know you're running little businesses and that these are different than the businesses you may run or that you work for? So you are volunteering, like many of our coaches and advisors. They didn't go to teacher school to run little businesses, pop-up shops of fundraising. We didn't go to principal school to learn a lot of this stuff. We went because of education, not for running business. So again, you may not know. And so this is just like leveling the playing field. And then what the school can do with you and what they want to do, because you are superstars and we want you, but we need to keep that ability to know what's public and what's private. And again, when a fundraiser is there and the district employee's involvement, because that's where there's a lot of findings too. When a paid district employee is doing work for the Booster Club, that's crossing the line. So we're going to try to show you what that is so that you can not put your coaches or advisors in jeopardy of violating that they're a public employee. So what they can do to help you and what they can't do to help you. So how do they differ? Again, I'm going to answer with ASBs. We should all have these. We should have really good internal controls because you came in, and how many of you were new this year? Do you have good notes and notebooks? I hope so, because you are living a past 16 years of legacy. At other schools, it could be much longer than that, but the same thing. But our internal controls, how do we do the things? I have examples, and most of the examples are mine. My neighbor had the police show up because my neighbor was the PTO treasurer and president and used the credit card to do her nails. And people got mad, and it's small. It's not even a town. It's a widening of the road, but blew it. So no internal controls. I had a coach who was president and treasurer and wrote himself a check for $3,500 when he retired because he was Booster Club and I said, Booster Club was mad. The people who came in, I said, who made him the signer of the check? You had no internal controls whatsoever. Was it ethical? No. Was it legal? Yes. Because he did what he wanted to do. He was president and treasurer. Probably secretary too. You have compliance within your membership. As ASB, we have compliance to the state because we're part of state funding. We do a lot of the education. You could do this, but with kids, we teach kids fiscal literacy all the time for no grade. ASB is extracurricular. There's no grade for it, but yet we're teaching kids how to run business all the time, and because they like it. Maybe not so much on the athletics. We teach a lot of team building, but when we get into the clubs and the other things, we are running many, many businesses. And then, of course, our record keeping is super important because you pass the baton on, and your goal is to leave because our goal is to get rid of your kid by graduating. So you go with your kid that you have a statute of limitations. The Snohomish treasurer, we had her for 2.5 years after last kid graduated. Thank goodness, because she was the finance officer, so she kept us together for a couple of years. But the idea is that was a gift. But most of you if you have lots of kids, well, welcome, you'll be here for a while. So again, By definition, when I say booster, it's PTA, it's PTO. It's interchangeable. There is no difference. You're really nonprofit 501c3s, right? That's all it is. Booster is just the fastest way to spit that out. But we have them in a lot of different areas. And you are super important because you can do things, you can leverage, you have some energy that you might be able to do. Coaches don't have that time. They're coaching. Advisors are planning things and they're doing a lot of fundraising, but at the same time, we could leverage that for some big things. Or you can take on some roles that we just can't do. You know, theater performances are huge. And then when you do that, we need lots of extra help. And sometimes that's fundraising, but sometimes it's just corralling the drama kids. I call them theater kids trying to get rid of drama, but the drama all went over to cheer. Just so you know. So by definition, and again, I use WACs and RCWs because those are the rules we have to follow. Those are, and RCWs, the Revised Code of Washington Administrative Code, they're like district policies and procedures, but it is what school. So we're still on the school side, but I want you to see what we're living in that world. So money raised during the school day and or on school property and or with school personnel and or school materials is considered public money. So not the well, the cash is money too, but everything, the desks you're at, the chairs you're in, the electricity, the internet, the books on the shelf, that's all public money. And so we as district employees have to protect that because it's part of the government. So we are stewards of public assets. So we can't give that away, but it's public money. So there's certain things that we have to do in order for people to access. We can access it all we want. You to access it, we just have to have some special rules in place, which are already in place. It's not new rules. It's just we have to go through those steps. School personnel, again, that's where we get the biggest findings because when I'm paid in my capacity, I can't work for you. So if you ask me to do something during my teaching time, I'm a district employee. I can do 0 for Booster Club because I'm using public time to work for a private corporation. Then if I'm paid as an advisor or a coach, I'm paid in that time. I can't work for you even though we don't pay coaches and advisors for the amount of time they spend. They do lots of work, but they can't work for you as basketball coach. I can't work for the basketball booster club. Now, if I was the band director, I could probably work for the football booster club. I think most people would know that those are not related. I couldn't during band time, but after school, I think I could launch into that pretty quickly. So that's one where we see huge amounts of findings where personnel have overstepped, and then the school is responsible for that, and they get a write-up because the auditor writes things up when they find things, and we have to fix them. Findings lead to fixes. Auditor, when they find fraud, that leads to firing. So we don't like that F word, but when they find things, that's their job. We want to fix it. So this is the one that we always have to be really cautious of, and that I worked with the coaches and advisors today. And school property is just everything we own, the property, the buses, things like that. And then the school day, of course, varies because we're public education, so let's give lots of definitions. The kids think of their school day. We think of our work day as the school day, but then we have our extra work. That's our part of our school day. If we sell food on campus, we cannot sell food that is not nutritiously sound from midnight to a half an hour after the last school bell, so around 3-ish or so. That's why you don't see pop machines anymore. The school I was at, 2,700 kids, 45 pop machines, $65,000 in profit. The next year, $0 worth of profit because thanks, feds. That's one of those federal rules. So we can sell snacks. They just have to be healthy snack calculator. Just type that in if you want to type something in. And don't assume just because it's junk food that it's not healthy because we use whole grains, calorie balanced, it's all of those things. A Kind bar, you know what those are? Those are actually healthy snacks if you type it in the calculator because of the number of fats and sugars and blah, blah, blah. Put it in the healthy snack calculator and it'll do all the math for you. There's good resources online. School day is also when kids leave, whether for our athletes or our band or if we're doing something after school, that's school time still. If we travel on a Saturday, that's school time. And where we go, that's school property. When I had kids off site at prom, No, you may not drink, smoke, or do drugs. This is school property and the school day. It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. School function. You have to follow the school rules. So again, school day kind of moves around, but this is what we're living in as far as a definition. So I like to put it in a nice tidy box that everything that's public money is contained within the district. And within the district, then there's sub-budgets, and there's things that are contained within the district. And some of those, you have definitive lines that we can't bypass. So the district is everything, but then we run things like over on the left, we run bonds and levies. You are the recipient of part of a $265 million bond in 2009. Remember the financial crisis? Everything crashed. We had millions of dollars to build buildings. We continued to remodel Snohomish. We were working on Valley View. We continued to work on here while we fired people or laid them off. And people are like, why are you laying people off? We just approved $265 million. Because we approved $265 million worth of bonds. That's for buildings. We didn't approve it for people. So when we run a bus levy, we can't buy tech. When we buy a tech levy, we can't buy buildings. So sometimes, even though it's in the district, it's contained and has restrictions on what we can use. But the building, everything in the building can support those things that are inside of it. So again, the district funds the building, but then we have this other one right in here, it's the ASB, and that's the one that we're mostly involved with, and the color combination is a little weird. It's supposed to be, oh, it's kind of yellow. Okay, but within here, these are one-way valves. So the district pays everything in the building and can pay the ASB. The ASB funds can't flow out of their little bubble. So ASB funds can't fund the library because that's curricular. And ASB can't fund recess because that's curricular. ASB can't fund things in the classroom because that's curricular. So we do have, so those are the limits under which we live. I'm just giving you that as background information, why we say we can do things and not do other things. Then you are the superstars, although it's more of a, I don't know, a dodecahedron or something. I should know that. I was a math teacher. But what there is I call it the red squiggly. We have to have a cognitive distance between the stars and the boxes. Boxes is public money. The stars are all of you. And so we need to know that you're running your business independently of the boxes, that you're not, that nobody's crossing over that you can use public money in the definition of building, maybe the school day, maybe some of those things, but you do it through contracts. And I'm going to use contracts as the big word, but some of the contracts will be this is a contract. Facility use form is a contract. There can be agreements that are contract. So they're one-pagers, but the idea is, oh, we recognize you because you have a direct benefit back to us. You do all your fundraising, all your work, and you give back to the schools. That's why boosters are super important. We don't have to recognize all 501c3s the same way. There's lots of them. We don't have to accept them. They have a different structure. You, however, give a direct benefit back to our kids. That's why you're super important. That's why we can create these contracts that allow you not to pay for room use during a normal school week and not pay for the you will pay for stadium lights no matter what, because everybody pays for stadium lights. Even the ASB pays for stadium lights. So other than that, you can use a room, you can use a place, you can have that. You have access to a lot of things because of our relationship. But we need to make sure that people in the community understand, oh, that's school. Oh, that's booster. And whatever your name is. Is this making sense? Are you okay? So again, when it's public money, remember the big definition, and it's generated by the students or in the name of students, and this is where we'll have to listen carefully, and it can only be used for cultural, athletic, recreational, or social purposes. I often hear sometimes, well, at least once a week, coaches will say, well, athletics, that's not ASB. It's right there. It's the A. And in statute, it says athletics. So yes, athletics is part of ASB. It's all of that extracurricular stuff, and it's optional and non-credit. What it is really important in here, and what you need to absorb is when it's students involved, when students are doing the work, or in the name of students. So if you're saying we're raising money for the theater program, That, by definition, is the name of students. Sorry, I'm picking on you because I remember you had 3. So when you say the theater program, you're raising money for the theater program, which is a school function, which is public money. If I say I'm raising money for the football team, I'm raising money for a team that's football. Is the football booster here? This is old news, and you've changed what's happened in the past. I used to live in the Highlands East, first neighborhood. Booster Club, supposedly, I believe that they did it, they would give gold cards to the football players. The football players would then exit, and at least 12 groups would knock on my door trying to sell me a gold card because 1, they're high schoolers, 1, they don't, or 2, they don't plan, but they would come down as high schoolers in their uniforms. We're selling gold cards for the football team. Now, I had 2 kids here and I had 1 kid there, so I am like a dog husky, or husky cougar kind of, I get house divided, but they got lectured. You think I'd be blacklisted because every year I'd lecture them, but I'm like, really, dude, did you see the group before you? Why would I buy a card from you if go away. But your speech is wrong. The first word should have been out of their mouth. We're raising money for the booster club or the football boosters and not be in a school uniform. Because my cognitive dissonance was, well, I knew the answer. It wasn't really dissonance, but that they looked like a duck, they sounded like a duck, and they walked like a duck. So they were dressed, and they were kids, and there were no adults around. I am going to, as a community member, say that's an ASB public fund function, not a goal. And then when I push, oh, it's for the booster club. I'm like, you did not say that. First words out of your mouth, booster club. So that's where you can train your kids when they volunteer, because kids can be private citizens. They can volunteer for you, but they are saying, I work for the boosters, and I'm not sporting my uniform, which is owned by the district. But everybody can wear spirit wear because anybody can buy spirit wear. So that's not an issue. It's when the uniforms that are owned by the district, spirit wear is not owned by the district. Is this making sense? But that's one of the biggest things that we find and auditors find, not just here, and I lived around the corner. I didn't come to many band booster clubs because they just gave me a look. Yeah. I know, and that's the thing is we want them to look legit, but then they're representing the wrong side of they're representing the boxes, not the stars. And I moved away 3 years ago, so this is old news. I'm sure you have it all fixed. But it is that. And I had to do the same thing down at Snohomish High because that's where I was for 10 years. And I worked with that coach to make sure of what it is. Because if you do all the work, then it's your money. But if you don't know where the auditors live either. They're everywhere. So they do live around the state. And their parents. So sometimes you're like, that's really hard for auditors. Go, I'm a parent, and I went to a PTA meeting, and they were like, really, what do I do? It's my private life, but oh my gosh, I can't even. And do I report them? Anyway, those are what auditors think as they're thinking in their own town. That's one is in Olympia, so you're safe. But again, it's that. You've got to distance it so the kids know. So the first words, really, the signage has to say booster. The words out of a kid mouth or an employee, if an employee's volunteering for you, booster club, who's in charge? When I go to the Walmart, this was in a different town, and it's 18 cheerleaders and it says cheer, raise money for the cheerleaders. I'm like, I know nothing about this. It's a booster club. I'm like, where's the parent? Oh, she's in there in shade. It's hot. So one parent, 18 kids, who's doing all the work, the 18 cheerleaders? No, I'm sorry, we'll talk next week. Go get a pen and at least change your poster to say Booster Club because they're advertising for school when they're raising money for a private, okay? So again, all the examples are mine. I'm trying not to use Snohomish examples, but they just keep coming out. So again, the things that we're trying to do when it comes to, it's copying, it's the internet, it's the email, it's the phone, it's the mail service. I wouldn't say mailbox. You could have a mailbox here, but it's mail services. You should not be using the school as your address because this is public. You would not have your mail shipped to Target. You would not have your mail shipped to Safeway. You should have a post office box or something like that. Post office boxes are safer because those last for the person who retires from their position. Plus that IRS postcard only comes once a year about doing your taxes. And most treasurers, oh, I don't do that anymore, and they throw it away. 3 years, you lose your IRS status. So you don't want that to happen because it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, AKA Snohomish High. We had to reconstruct 3 booster clubs from scratch because they lost their status because they didn't file their taxes. The IRS got them. And again, when there's money, specifically the cash, if the cash is in the building, a public employee has to put it in the safe and thank you for your donation. It just went into our bank account. Because if we store it in our safe, if we store it in our drawers, it's ours. So you have to have a structure to get that money out of here. And again, we can work with you, but those are like the terse terms. What I really liked here, South Kitsap, and I was talking here, but trying to make a guide so that district employees could understand what their roles in when they're working, what that means and what they can and can't do, and then how they can become private citizens, because they are private citizens. But they're not private citizens at 12 p.m. on a Wednesday. They're public employees. So I just like this because this was the first example I ever saw a school put it in print and online for people to do. So I think there may be some conversations of how we can help staff and you understand where I call it the red squiggly. How do we keep the red squiggly between public and private monies? And this was just one example. Other districts I'm working with, Renton, Tacoma just created a handbook on this because they're realizing that we get so many new people, new parents, but we get new coaches, we get new advisors. Our whole job is to get new kids. So new. There's even in my teeny districts, they get new people. And there's 36 kids in the entire school district. But eventually they graduate and those parents move on. So anyway, I just like that that was defined. And this is the one when we say public money, remember the definition by Constitution. So this is from the late 1800s, still viable, that our Article 8, Section 7 says that we cannot give away public money for private individuals, corporations, associations, or companies. You are a corporation, or you're part of a subordinate of a corporation. So we cannot give it away except for the poor and infirm. So we can always take care of our kids since the 1890s, but we can't give it away. But with contracts, we can allow you access as a public district. So again, we're not just making this up, trying to create boundaries. We're trying to live under the state constitution and the state laws. So again, let's see, you don't need that one. So you are separate entities from the school and the school district. You all have your 501c3 status. You all re-registered with the Secretary of State, I hope, because that's one of those things you need to do annually. If you're not sure, if you have an EIN, then you can search the EIN. You can go to Secretary of State Charity Search. You can search yourself there. You should be registered at the IRS as well as the state as a registered 501c3. But you are super important for supporting kids. And it's really important that you're incorporated, that you are really a 501c3, because I pointed out, anytime you hear parents, oh, we're gonna get a parent group together and fund well, like it used to be the grad parties. And that meant that if you're not incorporated with a board structure, with insurance and everything like that, anybody who attends a meeting for the last 13 months, even one meeting, and you're unincorporated, they can be personally held liable. So if a bad thing happened at grad party, every single adult present at any meeting over 13 months could be personally sued for whatever damage happened to that child. So is it important to be incorporated? Yes, it is. Would we ever want to do business as unincorporated? No, we really would never want to do that. And how do you know if you're incorporated? You should have an EIN. How do you know if you're unincorporated? Somebody's using a social security number. That's a good first test, because social security number is your PIN, personal identification number, versus an employer identification number. So it's super important that we're incorporated. So always keep that status up. And again, no one owns the booster club. So if you have your coaches and advisors and they say, oh, my booster club, it's not theirs. It's your booster club, but you don't own it. But it is a booster club that supports this. So I had a fight with a choir teacher for 5 years. My booster club. I got my booster. You don't have a booster club, Jackie. Finally, 5th year. The Booster Club for choir. I said, oh, you made it. Congratulations. But nobody owns it. Again, we're registered with the Secretary of State and the IRS so that we can say we are independent business that supports schools. Also, I don't know, this is one, my wife just joined a agency board, and let's just say it's a dumpster fire going on. She did not know, but has a long history of supporting this one, as do I. And it's like, oh my God, did you know you have duties as board officers? Did anybody train you up? Did your predecessors tell you you have a job that you have to do, that you have 3 duties as a board member? I do this with my board of my foundation. I do this with our AWSP board. Actually, the executive director does that. We train our board, but we should have an onboarding every year that you have the duty of care, loyal, and obedience. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, it means that when we have care, that we're making good decisions on behalf of the organization. We're taking our personal life out, getting our nails done with our company credit card, not the duty of care. So we have the duty of care that when we enter into this position, we will support this and run this business as we are because we are a board member. We have the duty of loyalty that we put our interests aside, that are the needs in our decision making. It's like, oh yeah, well, the kids want to take that trip to Hawaii for track or cross country because I'll be a chaperone. You know, it's like, well, yeah, but we could take 5 kids, but we could take 48 kids if we went to Montana. So it's kind of like, yes, I want to go to Hawaii or Disneyland or something like that. I'm giving a silly example, but it's that idea that we put, because your job, and again, I'll ask this, have you read your articles of incorporation? Who's read their articles of incorporation this year? How many know where their articles of incorporation are? How many are going, what the hell are articles of incorporation? It's okay. It's safe space. So articles of incorporation are our rules of how we run. Schools have constitutions, ASBs, so you probably remember that from school, our constitution. Articles of incorporation are the same thing. They are how you are guided. They are your structure. They are your officer guides. They are what our purpose is. Like we had one at Snohomish, the big group down in Snohomish, and we had an individual asking for support. They read their information, and we support groups. So they had to not supply this request for an individual because they read their purpose and their vision. So they read it. So you need to read that every year. That should be onboarding for all your for all of you. That's your homework assignment. Find your articles and reread them. But you should read them every year. And if somebody wants to run for office or wants to be voluntold to be in an office, give them a copy of the Articles of Incorporation, because that is super important. And then obedience means that we have legal responsibility, so we're not going to break the law because we'll jeopardize the corporation. So we're not going to sell things we shouldn't sell. We're not going to money launder. We're not going to gamble or no money laundering. I'll tell you, that's a bad one. So anyway, we do have duties, and there's lots and lots of information. But what I realized over time, booster clubs, you never get this onboarding. You know, I spend 6 hours with my board, bringing them on board, my board on board. So because I get 3, 6 of them are a 3-year term, but my core leadership, my president, and my 3 chairs from other organizations, I get the chair when they're chair, and they're chair once, they're president. So I only get them 1 year. So I am training these people up. Even though they see it, they're not in that official role. So this is ongoing every year. We've got to do it, and it doesn't have to be long, but at least a half an hour talking about what is our purpose? Why do we do what we do? And if you decide that your articles are off, there's things called amendments. You can make changes. Hopefully your articles say how to amend, so then you can make changes. Oh, this said we fund this. Well, since 2019, we have never done that. So are your articles even up to date? Same with schools and constitutions, that sometimes they're just outdated. So again, you are independent, you are a business, you have private funds. We don't tell you what to do, but schools can control how you access us. And that's where we want to have the mutual relationship, that we want you to do the things you want to do, but at the same time, we may have to say no to things. And those no's may be thank you, but we can't accept that money because we don't, like Title IX, we have to balance our gender equity, so we might have to say no to a donation on the boys' side because we don't have a comparable plan for the girls' side. That's gender equity, not equality, but it's often, I always use baseball and softball. Oh, well, here's $50,000 for the baseball field. Thank you. We can't accept it because we have no way to deal with the softball fields. Or would you mind splitting it in half? Or, oh, great, we had money, but we didn't have enough money for both programs. Now we have money for one and you're funding the other. This is great. It all works out. So again, we have to balance that out as a district. But you are guided by your articles of incorporation. You should, hopefully you're all 501c3s because there are 28 C's, just so you know. Useless piece of information. I had no idea. So 6s are like memberships, which is AWSP, but 3s are the golden ticket because we can say, you can write this off on your taxes. If you can even still do that. I don't know, but donations to a 501c3 are awesome because you get that letter of support. And but you control you do you. And that's super important. The coach or advisor does not control you. You control yourself. You work with each other to make that happen because we don't want you fundraising for purple uniforms. Oh, wait, we don't want you fundraising for uniforms in red because that's not our school colors up here. I'll use blue down there tomorrow. But that's the idea that boosters, like I've had people, when we're red and white school, Marysville, well, we want black uniforms. So the cheerleaders tried to go around it. We don't do black. Black is not our primary colors or our secondary colors, which is gold and green in those days. So no black. Cheerleaders. So again, the Booster Club, they tried, and it's like, we don't accept black uniforms. That's not our color. So again, you can always search yourself on the IRS. I've seen people register in the IRS and think, oh, we're nonprofit. You are with the IRS, but you have to register in every state. Hopefully you're all there, but if you're starting up, search yourself. Do a Google search on yourself in these government agencies. You are separate. You would not ever use the EIN of the district. You have your own EIN identification number. And again, you may have alumni, community involved, but you are in charge of you and the whole business that you got volunteered for. You joined or you missed a meeting. Is that all making sense? Okay. So one of the things we're really pushing for, and I work with the Washington State Booster Club Association. You can look them up, and I'll have their website on. It's wsbca.org. We're doing some co-presenting in this. We found that there's a lot of, I can teach schools, they teach, anyway, there's a lot of resources there. You can check it out just to learn more from them that are just on there. But they also have a membership, shameless plug for them, but they have a membership. And with that is some mentoring and some people who could help you if you're tackling some issues you're trying to figure out. There are some people who have dedicated, historically have done this for many years. Steve has been doing it for 30 years. He's helping set up booster club associations in like 5 other states at this time. So it's a really big deal of how do we help our booster clubs to understand when you're short-term employee, you're short-term board members. You're here for a few years and then you move on. So anyway, he's got a checklist, which I think is really great, but the things that you want to make sure that you have going, and again, I just do a little picture. I think it's online, but you can see that there's things, oh, I didn't know I should do that. Oh, where should I look for that? When I asked about your articles of incorporation, you're like, what is that? You learned a new term today. So you're looking for those kinds of things, but I love, they're very supportive of booster clubs. I will support you. I will give you my email. You can always email me and I will give you my answer, my take of it. And I think I can channel Snohomish pretty well, but I ask lots of questions, or I get lots of questions. I think I had 650 by August 1st of last year. I'm well into the hundreds already this year, but email's best because I'm in 17 cities in 17 days. So I'll be home on the 30th. So email's best. So what kinds of things? One thing that I'm encouraging and Steve's encouraging is that there's an agreement that we can officially recognize you with a compliance agreement. It just says you provide some of the paperwork we need to rationalize why you're a booster club. And we don't have to rationalize why other people are not booster clubs, other 501c3s. So kinds of things that we would want is your bylaws and your articles of incorporation. And did you renew with the Secretary of State? Do we have your insurance? And then your list of officers. And then we'll get into the fundraising and facility use forms. But the idea is that we officially recognize you because we have the paper and we know who you are. We know who your officers are. We know who to contact. And when people say, well, I want to be a booster, it's like, well, boosters directly give back to us. And sorry if I offend anybody, but AAU is a perfect example. They are great for kid development. They give an indirect impact back to schools in kid development. They do not give a direct relation or a direct contribution back to schools like you all do in the way of donations and supports and things like that. So yeah, AAU is awesome, or any of those. I worked with a wrestling group. Awesome, but there's no direct correlation. There's an indirect maybe if the kid even makes it that far, that they may move out of the district or something like that. So you are our direct source, and it's super important. And here's what happened. I left Snohomish in 18, and then, COVID happened. COVID. Everything fell apart, and we went free range, which it is what it is. But somebody called from down there, and I said, oh, where's the notebook? Somebody wanted to say, I've got these clubs, and I don't know about. It's like, where's the notebook? Because I collected all these things down there. And they're like, notebook? What notebook? I'm like, where's the notebook? We collected your articles, your officers, so that if you all disbanded suddenly, we still had paperwork for the next group to come back maybe a year or two late, because I think they were trying to restart one. It was like, nobody had the articles of incorporation. Oh, it was in the notebook. What notebook? So again, for us to keep it in the building, we just have a little folder that just says, yep, we recognize them, and that's how you get official abilities to use public monies through facility use, and we don't have to open it up to the entire world. The other thing, it's not required, but you might really talk about ethics just because of social media, the whole credit card, use the credit card by the district or the booster club president/treasurer on their nails. That's a bad idea when the police show up, but then it's bad social media, then it's bad news for you. So we have to talk about that, just like we have to do with employees, that we don't use public funds to run our Etsy program on our school computer, even though it's our plan time. We're using public monies to conduct private business. No. So again, that kind of things is that we have to talk. Sometimes we just have to have that up front just to say, we do have ethics. And we have lots of examples where ethics don't shine through. Not in here. We'll just look at other states or the feds or stuff. We have places that things don't always look good. We want to look good. We want to support our parents, and we don't want bad social media. Insurance, you all have your insurance, and that's part of a facility use form. You don't have to submit it every time because it's on file, but you do have to do it every year. The Booster Club Association, I guess, has a really great insurance if you're looking for insurance, but I guess they have a good deal with the big ones. Again, they do them. You can look at their website to see if it's better for you. But again, insurance is not super expensive because you go into a big pool, but there are sources out there. But you have to have that to be able to be on school campuses, to utilize them. You'd also want that if you're doing anything where you can be sued. Plus, you want it because there's actually different insurances, but it does protect you when you're doing something off-site. You're doing something at Willis Tucker Park, somebody gets hurt, you're sponsoring it. Who gets sued? You. So insurance is going to help you with that because everybody gets sued. Oh, it's the United States. We'll sue everybody. Remember, you cannot support political candidates. Do not take pictures, do not put it on social media. I do that because it's the time frame. I'm learning lobbying because now with outdoor schools, we gave away $15 million. We didn't give away, we channeled $15 million to elementaries for 5th and 6th grade overnight experiences. Next year, we're channeling $18 million. I'm asking legislators to please support what's in there, but I have to play the levy bond game like districts. Here's the facts. Can you please, and this is the projections of why we need $18 million. That's a fact, or a projection. That's not a, please, can we have some more money? That's a different group that I work with, and they can beg for more money. So again, we don't support political candidates. You just want to be clean on that, especially during political times. I don't want you to get in trouble because it's 501c3s. I cannot do it. I can actually do it because I work with AWSP. Like I work in a 6 and a 3. So when I'm in the 6, I can lobby. When I'm in the 3, I have to be very careful and how we spend our money and everything like that. But I manage a $20 million budget. So it's kind of crazy with what I do. So again, we do our annual renewal notice. You said y'all did that, or you hopefully did that, and that's another thing you can support or give to the district, because it says, oh, look, I'm here, I'm registered, I redid it, I re-upped, and that's a great cover page, because I think on that, you do have to have your officers. What a great page to give to them, and like almost everything's contained on there. Your articles don't change very often, so that's pretty easy to put in the notebook. Your insurance does once a year, and that's really done down at the district office. So there's not a huge paper load that you're doing to the district to be officially recognized. Are you part of the umbrella group, or how many of you are independent 501c3s? Anybody? Okay. So we have some independents, and then we have an umbrella group with subordinates, right? Okay. So you all have 501c3, and then you all have individual. Okay. I asked that because each 501c3, if you want to do raffles, gambling, you can do 2 per calendar year, January through. If you are a subordinate group, which means you're like the ASB is part of the school, which is part of the district has an EIN, we can conduct 2 unlicensed raffles for an entire district for a calendar year because it's based on EIN. So you have that ability. There's a lot of rules that go along with it. So you want to follow those so you're doing the right thing. You don't want to get busted by the gambling commission. I don't know that they live up here, but they might. Everybody works remote nowadays, right? Sorry, I'm having a Taylor Swift moment. So when you do that, just remember 50-50s are raffles. But there are some things called games of skill. So if you've ever done the 3-point shot, the half court shot, the field goal, those are considered games of skill. They've never seen me play. But like $1 to win the pop at the 3-point line, that is, I'm showing a skill and I get to walk up, win the pop, so it's not a raffle. I've also heard auctions are gambling. No, that's an outbidding thing. The person with the most money wins. Raffles are by chance, not by who has the bigger checkbook. So auctions are great because one winner and only one person pays. A raffle is everybody pays. There's a chance to win a prize. So it's all by chance versus skill. If you're doing something and you're having an event and there's an entry fee or anything like that, and you're giving away something for everybody who enters, don't call it a raffle, which is gambling. Call it a door prize or a drawing. Drawing, door prize, not gambling. Raffle, gambling. It's all vocabulary. You know, if you've read legislation, every word matters. Yes?
What do I call a
Cakewalk is gambling. Yeah. Because it's a random chance. Yeah. Is that related to more than just one event?
We also have
Bingo
bingo nights.
nights. Oh, you're already gambling. Okay.
We're already using our gambling. Kids
Yeah.
really like cake.
Oh, food.
Donated cake.
That's actually good because you make more money, but no, it's still gambling. You can also do gambling licenses, which give you ability to do more. And if you've all been in process for more, I think you had to be in process for like 18 months. You can apply for one and renew every year, and then you have a bigger cap and you can do more. You can do multiples, but you pay a license per level of how much I want to make. And with unlicensed, I think you can only cap at $2,500 per raffle. I think there's a cap. I'm not a gambling commissioner, so I'm better at auditing than gambling. Because I lose at gambling. And then if you're $50,000 annually, you have to do more taxes. So that's just one of those things that know where you're at. Because a couple clubs might do more. Most of us stay under that. So it's very nice that we're under. Any questions so far? So again, you could do gambling, but you can also get a gambling license. I know of 3 school districts that actually have gambling license because they're small community, lots of donations. So that's a really great way for them to do it historically. But most schools don't get gambling licenses because, well, you can only sell to 18-year-olds or older. So There's only 12 of them in the building right now, so why would we do gambling even at a high school? Maybe by the end of the year you get 180, but there's not a lot of demand out there because they're all youngins. So you sell to adults, okay? Let's see, make sure you do your taxes annually before your fiscal year. Done within 4 months and 15 days of the end of the fiscal year. So you have a big window, but sometimes with big windows, we have forgetfulness. Like you tell your kid, get the garbage out by Saturday. You know it's not going to go out because they're going to forget 12 times. And then, let's see, not secured or required to file. They have to do corporate taxes. So you're all 501c3s. So again, as a booster club, we can't require our members or students to fundraise to raise a certain amount. It's all voluntary. We say, hey, we have this opportunity, everybody go out. So we can't say everybody must raise $500 to make this happen. Nope, but we can say we need to hit a certain amount total as a group. So not individually, but as a total, we need $5,000 to be able to go to our trip to Montana because we can't go to Hawaii. So something like that. So you can set a goal for the overall, but you can't say everybody must raise. So that's one thing that has been a thing in the past. Really not using individual funding accounts. That's really a problem where you're saying, here's Greg's, here's Susan's, here's Bobby's, here's Billy's. We don't really track it that way because you don't want the extra. So you raise for your organization, you don't raise for individuals, is the best advice. If you want more on that, you should check the Booster Club Association on that. But you're raising money for whatever your purpose are, but your bylaws or your articles do not say, we're a individual fundraising account so that we can monetize every single student wants to raise money under us. So you're just raising and say, here's the money that we brought in from the car wash or the bake sale or whatever it is. And again, when you donate, it goes to the group to help support, and you can say, well, here's money for uniforms, or here's money for new sound equipment, or here's money for the library, or here's money for the tournament, the travel fees, things like that. So again, getting this compliance agreement, or at least the idea that we have the paperwork in the district that we can say, hey, yeah, we recognize them. They're great because they provide great services to us. That will probably be coming over this year to try to figure out where and how that happens. Make sure you have your insurance with the district listed. I have to do that. Because all the kids travel to us during summer programs. I've like through 100 sheets of insurance. It's like, oh, Lake Washington School District, Snohomish School District, Marysville School District. So I have that I just know that those are the ones I have to renew every year. And then I ship them out so the kids can come, that they're doubly insured. Even though it's a school field trip coming to our site, we say, yes, we'll also claim the district as a person. Let's see. Okay. So what we say with our district is that we can't shut you down. We never would want to. However, we can reduce access if you're not doing, like you can, well, we can say no to you things. You may not do a fundraiser where you have alcohol on campus. Just saying, there's no alcohol. There may be alcohol on campus. You may not sell alcohol or do a function with alcohol on a school campus. That's just a law. So there are things that we would say no to, and then there's other things, like my example is always, I had a booster club selling cookie dough that I knew nothing about in my early days. Then I had my ROTC selling cookie dough. Then I found out they're selling the exact same 2 weeks. If I had known, I would have said no to one of them. Can you wait 2 weeks so that everybody eats their cookie dough, you have full sales, and then we resell them because they're on a sugar low. Instead, we competed and everybody had half sales. We could have doubled our sales, and we would have been much better off, and people would have been rounder. But they got their sugar fix. But that's a perfect example why this communication is super important and why the pinkies are super important, that we know what you're doing, not to control you, but to say, like you, well, and I'll say, I have had booster clubs. Well, we want to sell wreaths in December. That's speech and debate. Well, we want to sell swags. That's FCLCLA. We want to sell poinsettias. That's FFA. If you can sell holiday decorations, that's still open on the board. But we don't want to compete with with different groups selling different or the same thing. So again, we might say, could you pick something else? Because it's been traditionally this group that has sold that. So again, you may traditionally sell something and we don't want oh, we love what you're doing. We want to pick up on that. No, that's theirs. So we can say no because we know what you do. We can say no to the groups that are trying to undermine you. Okay, cookie dough's up for everybody, but there are some things that are more sacred. We can, let's see. We can't force you to give us that, but we can, again, limit access to but and it's really information we just want to know, and we want to be your best supporters when some angry person calls, because occasionally I get an angry person. What's that going on? Oh, that's a booster club activity. They're not real. Actually, they are, and I've got their articles of incorporation here, and I can see that they're registered with the Secretary of State, and here's their officers. Fine. This was in the pre-days before people recorded all that. That was back when it was a big group. And like, no, I can support them because I know I worked with them to form, and it was really kind of cool. So again, we also want to make sure if you're using, we have intellectual property as a school district and a school. We own the logo. We control the colors. So you don't get to say, oh, well, we're going to buy black uniforms. Well, we don't do black. We don't do purple. We don't do red at this school. And what color blue do we do? What color, because I was at a school. We're old gold. We're not yellow gold. Those are distinct. We're blue. Well, what kind of blue? Columbia blue, dark blue, green, hunter green, Kelly green. There are lots of those things. So we want to make sure our image stays as clean as possible without rogue people saying, oh, purple is the in color this year. Nope, we don't do that. So again, we own that, but we can allow you access, but we don't have to allow other people access. When I had to march down to the Rite Aid and said, you can't sell Glacier Peak and Snohomish High stuff here. You don't have rights to this. I was speaking for Glacier Peak. I assumed that was true, but I knew they didn't have rights to sell their stuff at Rite Aid because they were trying to make money off us. I know Top Foods did it at one time. It's like, no, that's ours, and we don't get a kickback. You don't get to use our stuff and make money off of us because intellectual property is public money too. So we want you to use it for specific purposes, but we don't want others to use it. Again, the facility use form, and now it's Amanda. Some of you may have I worked with Melody for a number of years, so I have to remember, Amanda's the new person. So that's the facility use form. You don't rent facilities from coaches because or advisors, because this is not their building. It's public money. You need an outside source, again, to keep that red squiggly between you. When Amanda approves it, then it's all done properly. When a coach or advisor does it, did they? So we want to make sure that we don't put them in a bad situation. We also want them to know, or you may need to update your insurance or something. That's okay. We just get your insurance updated. Good. You're good to go. Melody would often contact me and say, I got this one for this group. It's like, oh, yep, that's one of ours. Or I'd say, I don't know who this is. Let me check it out. And then I found out it was a different name, but it was a legitimate group. But she would be the gatekeeper down there. So again, having a third source to say, oh yeah, this isn't an inside job, this is actually a district relationship with us. The other form, so that's renting facilities, and if you do, how many of you do concessions during your, so if you do concessions where you're running concessions, you would want to make sure, and this could be, and this is a district thing, but you're doing concessions for your entire season, you're raising money on school campus, or you're raising money, you should do a pink form that says, we're going to do soccer concessions for the whole season. Great, then we have record of who's doing concessions for soccer. None of you do the football boosters, because I think that's still run by ROTC, and then they give it out to different groups. Then that's an ASB function that then they give out. So again, if you're running concessions, then we have the form that just says, oh, yeah, it's theirs. I know it's handled, and I'm not looking for money to come into the bank onto the ASB side. If volleyball is doing concessions and it's the volleyball parent, then do a fundraiser form for the concessions during volleyball, or maybe the ASB is doing it. So again, it could be for theater. The Booster Club might be doing concessions for the theater performance because they're already really busy putting on a production. They don't have time to sell cookies or other treats. So again, this shows the Booster Club is functioning during a school event, but they're doing the fundraising for concessions, and then the ASB drama theater group would do one of these for selling tickets. So again, we might have several tickets or several of these for one event, because like if we had an event where all the boosters, like we used to have an Oktoberfest where we'd open up the one October game. It was more for clubs, but we had 20 booths where all the clubs could sell little things. You have hot chocolate, you have hot dogs, you have snow cones, you have cotton candy. So it was just a fun little celebration, but that could happen. So we'd all fill out those different forms. And again, it's just record keeping. It's the fact that, oh, I know it's yours. Oh, I know it's yours. Oh, I know it's yours. And we're good. Grad party. You just fill out one for the whole year that we're going to do grad party, and we're going to do some sales throughout the year. And eventually we'd like to make some money so we can go on a trip. And it's not a big form. It's less than 20 questions. You do not need student signatures. It's designed for the district and for you. There's just a checkbox at the top, so you do not need a student. A student signature indicates that it's an ASB function, so do not have that, just have the adult signature. Bring it back to the building. The principal can check it out to make sure we don't have any clashes, and we'll come up with a plan of, do you give that to the bookkeeper? It's also online, so you can fill it out digitally and just send it in, but then that way we know what you're doing, and we can put that. And then when people ask, who's selling those sweatshirts? Oh, that's XYZ Booster Club. Let me give you their number so you can order from them. Because people do ask, because they don't know. They're just like, yes? I would still do one just so that we know when people say, you know, disgruntled, or they're just asking, it's like, oh, online, I'll say magazine sales. We don't do that anymore. But online magazine sales, oh, I think that's XYZ Booster Club. Let me get you their information, or maybe their website or something. So it gives us the ability to make sure that the parents or community knows what's going on. Making sense? So again, let's see. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes and no. So with a facility use form, when we recognize it, there's different tiers in facility use form. Tier 1 is that you're a booster club and we recognize your direct benefit, and there's not charges for direct costs. So if you were here, like right now, using the custodians are already here, no cost. If you're using the stadium, maybe not a cost, but you'll pay for stadium lights. If you're here on a weekend, the coach or advisor you work with might let you into the building, so there's not cost for babysitting, but there will be a direct cost for the custodian to do the restrooms so they're ready for the school day when we start on Monday. So yes, direct costs. And then other tiers would be, nope, you're paying a room fee and custodial to be here to babysit you. And then we get into, and the PAC has lots of those because we have outside groups. So different tiers, you get the best tier, and we don't have to charge you for those kinds of things when we're already here. We're just opening the door for you. Yeah, okay. Like tonight, this could be just all booster clubs getting together to talk, and we wouldn't even need a staff member because the custodian could have let you in. So again, districts and students can have a private life, but we need to know, where's that red squiggly? Again, uniforms, make it look like ASB. When it's kids involved with no adults present, makes it look. Now, I totally know that you can tell your kid, oh no, I bought the cookies, I baked the cookies, I bagged the cookies. I am not walking up those bleachers to sell the cookies. You are, because this is for you. Then bring me the money and I will deposit the money. So I know you can control your kids. So you can tell them to go up and sell. They're working in their private capacity, free will. But you're telling them. So, but at the same time, if they're doing the planning, if they're doing the depositing, if they're doing the ordering, no, then it's ASB. If you're doing it and they're just volunteering, especially on the weekends, but then okay. And that's where we say the staff member, what does that look like? We wouldn't want them. So again, the coach should not be doing, or the advisor should not be talking about your fundraiser to the kids. They should say, hey, do you want the kids when they're stinky or when they're fresh? So you can have the 15 minutes at the beginning of practice or the 15 minutes at the end of practice. You come in and you present that we're going to sell this, or we have this ability for you to participate in, or we have this that you can join in or you can donate for. So you come in and do the spiel and you give them the speech, but we don't ask the coach or advisor to do anything. The coach or advisor can function to help you if you give them an email with a couple of sentences and a link to your email, like your online sales. Then the coach could say, Booster Club is doing a fundraiser. They're selling shirts. Here's the link. They could copy, I call it copy paste. You copy a small bit. They can forward that email, or if it's the school, they can put it in a school newsletter. That is minimal lift for public employees. They are not creating your newsletter. They're not doing the calling. They're not doing the flyer making, those kinds of things. Then that becomes public employees working for a private business, which makes it's public fundraising. All good? Let's see. So what should districts do? They should have non-fiduciary responsibilities. They should attend with you. You need to know what's going on. You can't be, I mean, you're raising money for uniforms. It's like, we don't need uniforms. We need wrestling mats. Oh, I didn't know you. Or we're both raising money for uniforms. Well, crud. Now we got Tuesday uniforms and Wednesday uniforms. And that's a waste of time and energy. And then, or it's not our cycle. We bought uniforms last year. So again, working with them. Plus your donations back to the ASB in the way of financials need to be claimed. I mean, they need to be part of their budget process. Oh, we hope to get $20,000 of donations because we're working with the booster clubs and they're coming in because they have to recognize that revenue. When we build a budget, you have a little more flexibility. When we build a budget, we have a cap. And when we submit to the state, we can't exceed that cap. So we could actually raise too much money and we can't accept any more money without borrowing capacity. And anyway, there's ways around it. We do not want to go there, but we can. And then there's file extensions. No. But we kind of manage and say, oh, we're going to bring in $1 million. Okay. Oh, wait, now we're suddenly coming in more. Uh-oh, we're getting to our cap. We also have a cap of how much we can spend. Like yes, we had plenty of money, but we can't overspend, we can only spend $1 million. Now we're up to $999,000 and it's March. How are we going to pay all our bills? We have to expand that. So we build budgets based on all income, your donations, as well as all our fundraising that we do in ASB. And again, what's their off time period that they can work for you? And again, what can we do together? Like the theater and the theater booster club, perfect opportunity. We do the production, the booster club does the concessions. It's a great relationship when we can do that. Soccer or any of those sports where you're doing the concessions, they're running the program, we take tickets in, you're doing the concessions because we don't have enough people to do the concessions and you get to keep that. If you're keeping inventory on campus, you want a facility use form, hopefully you take it away. But with a facility use form, you could even maybe have a closet if there was one available. Don't know that there's one available, but you could possibly have that. Don't ever keep your money on campus because once it's on campus and it's here, it's public assets. So you do not give, the coach won't keep your money. The bookkeeper can't keep your money. Well, we can, but it's no longer your money. Thank you for your donation. Yes?
So we have a closet. Does that mean I have to fill out a facility use form every year?
You should have an agreement that you're doing that. And it might not be a facility use form. It might be an agreement, but a contract that says this is the closet that we have, which means you have the keys and you have access to normal business hours. So then that's one that needs to be worked out because then a public employee should not be letting people into your closet unless it's just you. But, that's the idea that school district employee wouldn't sell your merch out of the closet, which sometimes happens. It's, oh, let me get you a sweatshirt for the booster club. And then they take the money and then they put the money in your closet. So it should be a pure form. So having an agreement would be really helpful of who has access to that and who has keys to that. And when you can access it, because you can't access it like at 9 o'clock at night when nobody's here, but you can, unless that person was available. But those are the things that could work out in an agreement. Facility use form in big terms. Yeah. So again, when it's a fundraiser, just think like the public.
Yeah.
You got it?
We have one closet that is like several different boosters share.
Oh, yeah.
That is just
Community. And it should be rekeyed differently that not any staff member can get in, but we can get in case of a fire.
It's a keypad. Yeah.
Oh, a keypad. Yeah. So then that makes total sense. And we would just have an agreement that that is the one that's locked off. Because if you have transition in personnel, oh no, we have an agreement. we'd set up, and the district helped set us up. So we want to have that on record, that there's not that future awkwardness. So again, just think about the fundraiser. If kids are involved, how does that look? If the staff that are connected to this booster club are involved, how does that look? Who's doing the preponderance of work? How is that conveyed? How is it advertised in the way of booster club? You know, that your signage, the first words out of anybody's mouth, for the booster club, we're selling cookie dough. You know, so that right away I'm thinking, oh, they just said something that I wasn't expecting. I'm going to listen a little bit further. But even if they don't get it by the end of this paragraph, you said it. No, I said I was with the booster club, and that was on the listener then. So again, it's about conveying that and then teaching the people, giving them a script. This is what you say when you go sell gold cards or whatever it is. For the football booster club, we're selling gold cards. There, we got the first sentence out of the way as an introduction paragraph or introduction sentence. Let's see. And again, staff and students shouldn't be signing for you, purchasing for you, because they're not agents of you. So be really careful of that. You don't want them to do that. You may give them permission and say, yeah, we can support you up to $500 reimbursement, but they should always pre-plan with that. They don't get to come to you after and say, oh, can you pay these bills? No, you didn't have permission. You own your well, you don't own it. You own your corporation. Stand up to them. They're like your kids. No, you did not have permission to spend that money. Bad on you. Thank you for your donation. We say the same thing on the school side. After a couple times, no, you blew it how many times? Thank you for your donation. Because they're going to keep doing that and then asking for forgiveness. So forgiveness taken away after the second, third, 28,000th time. I just think of everybody as seventh graders, and my life is good. So my coaches, my advisors, nothing more than seventh graders. Again, this flow chart, and I will get all of these to Kristen and team, and then we'll get you. But again, you can ask me for this. But this is one, again, we made up. Like, how do you know? And if it's a yes, it's ASB. At any time it's a no, you go to the next section, and then, oh, yay, we're Booster Club. So we worked together with the Booster Club Association to put that on, or to create that, because it's helped a lot of people go, okay, I'm framing my thinking. So with that, what questions do you have? Because that was a lot. I was talking a lot.
I had a question. So, is there ever such a thing as like a booster fee that you can ask for, not required, rather than just fundraising from the team of parents? Or is that like a no?
To make our goal, we would love everybody to donate up to this. You know, we're trying to get donations up to $5,000. This is what we need to do. And you can ask to make a goal. I wouldn't say everybody, to be a member sitting at the table, you must pay $50. But because some people might pay more, and then that's the $5,000, and we're really spending up to, $150 per kid, because this is how many kids we support. So if you feel like supporting 2 kids, you could write a check for $300. So you might have people who say, oh, the idea that I can support more than one, versus I have a minimum. So, or you can participate in we want to get to 5,000, and we're going to fundraise, but we're also taking straight donations. It's going to cost us this much, and you could sponsor the kids, but you're not saying you must pay this. Here's your membership fees. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because then you're a C6. Then you could be a membership organization, but you don't want to be a C6. You want the C3, special star. Great.
If you're doing a fundraiser, but it's just within your team, do you need to fill out a team form?
If you're not going to include anybody beyond your team, then the school probably doesn't need to know. Which is actually, you can look this up, but that's one of the gambling things. You can actually do a raffle if you have a private meeting where it's not open to the public. So if you had, let's say you had a 50 football booster club, you can do a little mini, like for that event, have a raffle, but it's not open to anybody. So and that's just a clause that I don't look up very much, but there are private raffles that is sometimes allowable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you are allowed one raffle, one bingo, like a combo of 2 a year without a gambling
calendar year, January through December, which is different than we operate because which is different than the fiscal budget, which is July, which is different than the school budget, which starts September 1, which is different than maybe your budget, which could start at any month you decided that you were starting. So yeah, pick a calendar, but in that one, it's the January 1. Mm-hmm. I think 5,000. I think it's $2,500 per with a $5 and also 5,000, and the 5,000 might be the 2,500 per. So read up. Just type in Gambling Commission Raffle FAQ. They're very nice to work with, and you don't even have to say I'm from Snohomish High School. You know, you can just say that was a joke. God.
We wouldn't say that. We wouldn't say that.
Actually, our joke is, I know a school district where, you say you're from Jackson. It's fine. Throw them under the bus. I don't know the website, but it's Gambling Commission. Gambling Commission Raffle FAQ would get you the best, probably the right search, I think. Yeah, like Secretary of State Charitable Organization search. Or charity search will get you to that one. And it's not the top search. You're down about 3 boxes to search by company or EIN. Not that I go there often, but yes, I know where it is. I don't memorize URLs. You're not a membership organization. You're a 501c3, so I would say I'm saying no. You assume your risk, but I say it's a no. You don't have you must be spending money to be a member. We don't, as a 501c3. That's where, like, a 6 can work with political candidates, a 3 can't. So an 8 can too, I think. Anyway, different numbers can do different things. Here are some of the websites. The Booster Club Association, Washington State Booster Club Association. Just look, because they have some great resources online. You could look at insurance. You could look at membership. They do have some supports if you're thinking you want to really dive into it or learn some more. So I've been, again, co-presenting sometimes with Steve. We're going to Walla Walla. Oh, next week. So I love working with them because of that blending between. I've got my website here. A lot of the articles of WIAA, if you look into resources, a lot of those sheets, it's my email at the bottom. So I wrote a lot of those. But if you're looking for, the coaches often look there, WIAA under resources. The National Federation of High Schools, they just have other rules we have to follow because they guide all of our athletics, cheer, band, a lot of those. They guide the WIAA standards. So when we're in WIAA, we have to follow the Federation High School rules and the WIAA rules. So there's a lot of rules. When we're in alphabet clubs, we have to follow, FFA rules. We have to follow DECA rules, FBLA rules, FCCLA rules. We have to follow Honor Society rules. We have a lot of rules we have to follow too. But WIAA is the big one, even in our performing arts, in our theater, cheer, dance. They do more than athletics. They're the activities association. So they have like 12 activities and 17 athletics or something like that. So they even cover esports and some of those. So sometimes we have rules because we're members of that. It's like, anyway, like we have to charge a certain amount because we're WIA members. That's why the gate receipts are what they are, because it's standardized and we don't get to mess with that. It's not, we don't. Great. That can be written. There are some discounts. I'm not sure about military because I've not done that, but we can do for elderly. And that's even in Snohomish, it's the Klahaya Pass where they can go and get it. But there was a time where they could say they're a senior citizen and we would sell them the kid price. So like an outsider can come in without the Klahaya gets in free. As a senior, I'm not quite there yet, but I could go in and ask for the kid/senior ticket because it's said with the poor and infirm, we can offer discounts for 65 and above and for kids. The military ones, I don't know, but I'm sure it's acceptable. It's probably just not in my bandwidth, even though you think it would be. I live on Whidbey Island, so working with Oak Harbor and Coopville, I went somewhere and they're like, oh, are you 55 military or police or fire? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm over 55. Yes, I want a discount. So you have to listen when you get older because you might get a discount and you didn't know it. Anyway, I hate being older, but here I am. What other questions? Yes? Oh, great question. I think I was going to say about 10. I don't know. Because I work in schools where we have to keep minutes forever, and then we have to keep other records 7 years. We can be sued up to 7 years. And then we keep things like their attendance records and discipline records, and then we shred them after they're 21. You know, we have this whole series of reports. But that's a great question that I don't know, but 10 years would be really safe. So do you have the notebook from 10 years ago, now that you're all 16 years old or so? Yes?
All right, I'm going to use the grad party that you
Okay.
that you gave. So your booster could fundraise to go on a trip.
Mhm.
You can't fundraise, kids can't fundraise for themselves individually, right? People can't donate and say,
This is for
who lives across,
This is for Johnny. Yeah. So the suggestion from Steve, and you might look it up, it's called individual fund accounts, and that is not a great practice. Because then what happens too, and it happens in schools, I'm raising money and now I'm not going on the trip, is, well, it's not your money anymore. Once it goes into public money, you were raising money for cheerleading, for band, for the theater. Thank you. You left the district. You said you don't want to go. The money stays in that account that it was raised for. And when you get into individual, just as a perception, when you get into individual, I want my money back. No. We can give direct money back. Like my cheerleaders used to put a $100 deposit down. And by the end of the year, they did lots of fundraising and the bills got all paid. We could refund the $100 because it was a direct payment, but we would never refund the cookie dough sales or the chocolate bar sales or the mini cheer camps or any of those, because that was a group effort. And of course, we really would love to get to the point. We went away from it, but many years ago was we just raise money, and if we raise enough money, everybody gets to go. And now we went into, it's like the pendulum. And now if we can get back to, wouldn't it be great if we can all just fundraise and then we have the experience? So it's a great question. Mm-hmm. No, they're paying off their uniforms. So, because they're keeping their uniforms. Right, they're paying for the goods. Yeah, it's not a membership fee that can be used for whatever. It's a specific dollar for thread. $100 in a cheer uniform, maybe the lower ribbon. Never give the cheerleaders the catalog. I learned that one year. Yeah.
So we have a suggested donation like seed money of $350, and that goes towards your account.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have camp uniforms,
All of that. Yeah.
very rarely do they have people that have a balance left over.
Mm-hmm.
Within understanding that it just stays with booster, and
Yeah.
that's how it's all happened. So we can still
It's a deposit.
ask for that $350 deposit towards your child's account.
Yeah.
And do they call that in good standing? What if somebody does not make that deposit?
Are you limiting them to something?
No.
Okay. I mean,
Just in the end, they end up getting
we're trying to help you
bill for all their
get through the whole year in payments versus wholesale payment, which some of your parents, I'll just write a check and I'm done. But we have many, it's like, oh, for 50, for the cost of a cup of coffee, you too can buy a cheer uniform over a year. Well, maybe not. I meant for every day for an entire year, a Starbucks coffee. Yeah, you should be able to pay off a cheer uniform with Starbucks coffee. Grande, super, whatever, $17 coffee drink. You pay off your cheer uniform like that. Sorry, Starbucks. The prices are crazy. We don't have Starbucks in Coopville. So it's rare when I get to see one. Thanks. Really good questions. I mean, my name is a 4-letter word. You're certainly welcome to use it in that sense. But please feel free, that was a joke, to email me, because questions come up as you're thinking, as you're asking, as you're working with your personnel here. But again, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect them. I'm trying to make it so the auditor sees the difference. I'm trying to create the red squiggly. There are great things happening, so don't ever get that sense. There are not illegal things happening. There are things that are messy that could be cleaned up pretty easily, but we got some habits. We may have not had the best habits. COVID happened. We got really bad habits because we were in survival mode for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And just like any 7th grader, if we did it more than a year, it's tradition. And now we have some bad habits or some less than stellar habits we need to work out. And again, I'm doing this down in Snohomish tomorrow, same exact show with the admin and groups and staffing, and then with advisors and coaches and with boosters. And I think one of the things I talked about that is a great thing that I'm encouraging the district that we did down in Snohomish, but annual meetings like this, at least one, not with me. I'd love to come back, but it's more of that we all get together at least once. I did twice down there, one in the fall and one in the spring, just so that we could collect as people came in new, to have this ability to connect and oh, I didn't know you did. Oh, you're in this booster club, or what are you doing? I hear you do wreaths and we do swags, or, it's a great time to share because you're kind of on your little island. So I'm really encouraging that, and I hope they'll see that, because I see a lot of value. I know that it was much better when I was able to go to twice a year, because I just felt like I knew my parents, they knew the process, new ones were onboarded every 6 months, so it didn't matter when you came on board. And some of you are in fall season, you're like, I can't take on one more thing. Your spring season people, you're probably okay, your brain's in a good place, but some of you are year long. So again, you may see some changes, but it's to help us work together, work better together.